And welcome back to the show. We just turned the spotlight on ourselves here at the Yes Network. And, Michael, let's talk about this now. 10 years in, Yes has had, obviously, a big impact in the game. Other teams have seen that. Do teams get it? They know why they want it?
Yeah, I think we've seen an increase in the number of teams that either have stakes in the regional sports networks or are thinking about starting their own regional sports network. It's not easy. The Royals tried, the Twins tried. They were not successful. They couldn't get the carriage. But we have seen some small market teams like the Cleveland Indians do it, for example, with SportsTime Ohio. And I think one of the big advantages, besides the monetary advantage, Bob, is you get to have more control over your own brand. Mm-hmm. You're not leaving the telecast of the games and the interviews and so forth and all the other content in the hands of somebody else. So the Yankees, for example, have such a powerful brand that resonates throughout the entire country. In fact, outside the country, they don't want to leave that in the hands of somebody apart from the organization. And I think that other teams seeing that want it. I mean, the Mets have their own RSN now. The Red Sox have for quite some time. Right. And you're looking at other teams. I mean, the Dodgers, they'll probably start an RSN in a few years themselves.
I know you touched on this earlier, but how much does live programming help? The fact that people are tuned in for 3 or 4 straight hours to watch a game.
Oh, it's great. And I think that this really, you have the dual revenue stream, which is so important. Not only do you get the advertising revenue when you have a stake in your own RSN, but you also get the affiliate fees, the subscriber fees. So you have that dual revenue stream, which gives you an advantage over teams that just get a straight rights fee. And I think what we're really starting to see is more shoulder programming. I mean, the Yankees, for example, can only be seen on Yes in the Yankees baseball demographic, largely the metropolitan area. So all the other shoulder programming, the college sports, and all those other shows that you host, Bob, they're seen nationally. And this is something that, SportsTime Ohio has been working on, and the other RSNs are focusing on as well.
So part of growing the model is not only adding the shoulder programming and things of interest, but you have to do that to keep people around the country interested if you want to really go across the country.
Exactly. I mean, a great advantage of baseball over the other sports is you have 162 games, okay, compared to basketball and hockey, for example. But there are still other hours, in the winter where you want to have other programming. You don't want the screen to go black, right. So you need that shoulder programming.
All right, Michael, good stuff. We want to make sure that you check out our next edition of Forbes Sports Money when we profile the Bellator Fighting Championships with founder and CEO Bjorn Rebney.
I think one of the reasons that boxing's fallen off so substantially is because it is guided by and it lives by a philosophy of matchmaking. And that subjectivity, that lack of trackability, long-term, I think serves to the detriment of fighting sports organizations. You can track the NCAAs in March Madness. You can track basketball, and you can see what happens in terms of who's added to the Clippers. And man, they may look strong this year, and they've really got a shot. And we're going to track them through the season and see if ultimately they can become LA's best basketball team. But when every piece of sport's determined by a guy in a shiny suit sitting behind a desk saying Smith versus Jones, because I believe I can sell that, I think that serves long-term to disconnect viewers from the reality of the sports competition. And I think we've seen some of that in boxing. There are these steadfast characters in boxing from a promotional perspective that have been around forever. And they live and die by that maxim of we're going to decide who fights who for what and when. And I just think that both domestically and internationally, in the back of consumers' minds, we're used to seeing sports where if you win, you move forward, you go to the championship, and if you lose, you regroup, you retrain, you eat better, you run harder, and maybe you make it further next year. So I think that's one of the reasons that boxing's taken such a hit.
And that is it for this edition of the show. As always, we thank all of our guests, and we thank you as well for joining us. For Michael Ozanian, I'm Bob Lorenz. We will see you next time on Forbes Sports Money. Take care.